Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting. I'm going to go ahead and open the meeting to order. It is 5:01 at this time, and we do have a quorum. Any public comments?
No public comments.
Okay. And this time, we're going to go ahead and go to the consent agenda items. Any questions on the consent agenda items? Questions? If no questions, could need a motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to go now to the items for individual consideration. The first one with the general manager's report.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have a board calendar in your packet for your review. Mike will give a financial report, also the engineering and legal piece monthly expense report, and then a procurement summary by purchasing. Start off with the financial report.
We'll start off here on the reporting on poll. Net non-operating expenses, so we have a lot of things in it. End up with net applications of $2,955,000. I'll come back to this, report, our budget, private. Account, UAV, and we still left with a year-to-date. Go back to the, first of the board here, pointed out through the letter. One of the questions that $80,000. And the reason for that is the depreciation expense is reported here at $3.5 million. It's actually $1 million over the depreciation. And so as part of the hearing. Or that in February. So that concludes the report.
That depreciation expense was 2 months of depreciation expense?
Well, the $1 million. That is the, engineering legal fees, monthly expenses. $50. About $135. The legal expenses.
Doing the procurement summary?
With 32 cents. So the total, the grand total for water and wastewater administration and electric is $2,757,475.32. The majority of these expenses were competitively bid, or they're on a state contract, or some of them were amendments to current contracts. Any questions?
No questions from me. Any questions? No, no questions.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and move on to item number 2, which is the consideration and approval of a service contract with Focused Advocacy.
Madam Chair, we were gonna, these were two items that were tabled last month. Maybe we can do them together because they're going to make a presentation. Both firms will make a
2
presentation
and 3.
probably at the same time. So if we could take them individually after whatever the board decides, but they'll be combining their presentation at the same time.
Okay.
Want to read number 3 also.
We're going to do 2 and 3 at the same time. 2 is a consideration and approval of a service contract with Focused Advocacy. And number 3 will be consideration and approval of a service contract with the Garcia Group.
And for Focus Advocacy, we've got Kurt Seidlitz, and the Garcia Group is Joe and Buddy Garcia. And I think they should be on. And we thought we'd do is let them make a presentation on our consulting and legislative fees these contracts are for, and what is ongoing right now, and what they've done previously, and what's coming down the road for Brownsville. So each Joe or Buddy, I'm not
Yes,
sure.
good.
Start.
Yeah, we can start. Good afternoon. This is Joe Garcia and Buddy Garcia with the Garcia Group, and we've proudly represented Brownsville Public Utilities for a number of sessions. Our main job, obviously, is to educate our legislators about the needs of Brownsville PUB, and vice versa, to also educate John on the happenings of what's happening in Austin. Our primary job is to ensure that the interests of the ratepayers are protected through John Brusiak and his leadership team, we work closely. One of the things, for example, I will give you, we now have a new state representative in Brownsville by the name of Aaron Garza, who was Aaron Gomez, who was elected recently. In our conversations with her, we indicated about we informed her about how much brackish water we treat, and to her surprise, she was not aware of the things that Brownsville PUB is engaged in, from electricity to water treatment to resaca restoration. So that is our primary job, and I'll let Buddy dive a little bit into some of what's upcoming and some of the issues that we're confronting.
Chairman Sines, board members, Mayor Mendez, thank you for the opportunity, and it has been an honor to serve as legislative consultants for Brownsville PUB, and as a Brownsville native, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to help lead this consulting team. Brownsville PUB's ability to successfully address and navigate any obstacles that develop at the state level, from policymakers to the leadership, falls right into our bailiwick of our skills. And like any specialized service, lobbyists, government consultants are trying to network and educate members, our communication, as well as our relationships with agencies, agency leaders, leadership. We have a background. In my case, I've worked for the state for 22 plus years, both in the legislative realm and in the executive branch, and continue to maintain those relationships at the Water Development Board, TCEQ, PUC, ERCOT, what have you. The issues that are going to affect Brownsville, particularly PUB, depend on effective real-time communication, and this is what we do. We don't fix teeth, we don't build houses. This is our job of combined experience representing PUBs and public utilities interests in particular. And before I hand over to Kurt, I do want to make sure you all are aware there's a combination of factors, not only post winter storm Uri from last winter, and the interest by state leadership to restructure the market setup for electric distribution, but what accompanies with that, a larger interest by state leadership, if you will, to go after municipal spending and authority and try to figure out ways to limit what municipalities can, big ticket items they can do. That there has been an effort prior to the winter storm, actually, by leadership to go after municipally owned utilities and municipalities in general. I think that the interim will include many charges that directly affect Brownsville PUB, including water and electric delivery. And I just wanted to give you a little overview and be as efficient as possible with your time, but let you know that we too could be interested in any type of a work session, or come down and elaborate more broadly on so many topics that candidly are going to affect Brownsville PUB in the near future, both the ratepayers in the form of how much money is available, as well as the application of those funds in the most productive way, as well as steering state leadership to understand network of how things work. Not only with Aaron Gomez being a new state rep, but you're going to have a new state senator. You're going to have another state rep down there that's new, along with their staffs, and bringing them up to speed on how effective water, wastewater, and electricity delivery works. Brownsville PUB is known as a very stellar, I think the state of Texas recognizes it's run correctly in the future. I think more and more utilities will look to Brownsville PUB as an example, particularly when it comes to desal and some of the efficiency efforts. But thank you again for this opportunity to just bring up and discuss some of the issues we worked on. If you'd like to know some more from the resaca restoration money that we've found over the years to other practices that are going to continue to be affecting your bottom line and how we can effectively help you, that is our mission, and I'm proud to be a part of this team. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. My name is Curtis Seidlitz, and Madam Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Brusiak and BPUB staff, I'm pleased to be here today together with my colleagues, Buddy Garcia and Joe T. Garcia. And B, on behalf of Focused Advocacy, we are a partnership here that does lobbying and consulting, focus a lot on city issues as well as MOU, municipally owned electric utilities. And I've been in this space for probably now, considering time as a legislator, I was counting today, about 36 years. We also have a former assistant manager that helps on this team, as well as a former general counsel to TML and a former Railroad Commission chief of staff. And we think that we bring a complementary bunch to the Garcia group, and we recognize their expertise, and we work very well together and not in a duplicative manner. Mr. Manager had asked us to talk a little bit about value, services, what we have done, and ongoing policy issues. So if I may briefly address each one of those. One, I think our experience is together with this team is on par with any other, if not better. You know, everyone hires engineers, financial advisors, attorneys to give them expertise. And here in Austin, everybody hires people to give them legislative expertise also, as well as agency expertise. We interact with the policymakers and stakeholders here in Austin while y'all are able to run the utility on the wastewater and the water side and the electric side there in Brownsville for the ratepayers and the citizens of Brownsville. But we're competing with other stakeholders for the brains and the mind and the thoughts of legislators and policymakers. And those folks in this space on the other side, they may be with us sometime, they may be against us, but they certainly are geared up with staffs and consultants and lobbyists over major public policy issues that involve substantial amounts of dollars. We continue to and establish relationship with new members, as Buddy and Joe have mentioned here, not only in the Valley, but I think it's important to note, we have to know members all over the state. The chairman of House State Affairs is from Conroe, a city which we help represent here at Focused Advocacy. Charles Schwartner is the head of business and commerce. He represents Georgetown Municipal up the road. And then you have all kinds of committees that really impact this business, like calendars and natural resources and all. And they're not just made up of Valley folks. So we have to spend a lot of time establishing those relationships. A lot of our investor-owned friends participate heavy in political campaigns, but we, on our own dime, we participate in political campaigns across the state to establish those relationships, not just with our local delegation, but with also the statewide, all the way up to the governor. You know, what a lot of people ask, well, what are you doing during the interim? And I know that's been brought up. The services that we provide during the interim and during the session as well, we try to identify key issues of importance to BPUB across a variety of forums. Buddy mentioned TCEQ, PUCT, ERCOT, legislature, governor, and lieutenant governor. Winter Storm Uri was mentioned. As a result of that, Senate Bill 3 was passed. There's probably 30 rulemakings going on at the PUCT right now. The legislature keeps a very close eye over that. And it's our job to figure out and advise and consult with the BPUB management as to the effects that that may have on BPUB and what we can do to modify those to make them palatable. We help develop BPUB advocacy positions and deliver them during interim committees. Just for example, tomorrow in San Antonio, we'll be there as an urban affairs meeting, and they're talking about water and wastewater services across the state, mainly from a perspective of boil water and winter storm preparedness, but 5 major utilities across the state, water utilities, are going to testify, and we'll be there to make sure that BPUB is well represented. We also have during this interim charges called interim committee charges. Senate Business and Commerce has received an electric charge that's very, very wide and potentially dangerous, as well as other committees. And there's also a sunset review this time of the ERCOT, PUCT, and TCEQ, which is only happens once, depends on the agency, but 6 years or 12 years, mostly 12 years. But that's a lot of work to be working on too. We also work with our public power partners at the TPPA, Texas Public Power Association. That's the 72 munis and some co-ops around the state that we help develop positions. It's kind of like lobbying the lobby, but we need to try to be on the page, because the more folks we have on our page, the better off we are. Some of the things that have gone on in the past, we defeated numerous bills. I think it was Buddy that mentioned there's problems of city operated utilities in some folks' mind. So there's always efforts to just open us up for competition, limit general fund transfers, change board control regarding setting of rates, local control of board structure and membership, always transmission and generation issues, winter preparedness, and market structures. All those things we look to try to protect BPUB's positions. We passed affirmative legislation, Buddy just mentioned, on Resaca management. Water control has done a great job there, and the team has done a great job. We also worked on annexation issues to protect the certificated area of BPUB when we were really the only one to get an exemption on that in the whole state. So those are some good issues that we've worked on. We'll continue to participate in these ongoing major policy issues involving electricity, water, and wastewater. All those bills that I mentioned that we've defeated over the years, or helped defeat over the years, together with our partners, they'll be back. They'll be back. And there's probably, between now and the session and during the session, some of the biggest changes in the electric market over the last 25 years, all in response to Winter Storm Uri. But there's a major emphasis on reliability. So what kind of market design brings about reliability for folks around Texas, as well as backstop reliability? That is, do we have a dispatchable generation to come on during the when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine? We also have various interim studies and legislation on water issues. It's always an issue. It'll continue to be water source and allocations, all of which affect operations of the utilities to come. I might mention also, we even work on diverse things such as open meetings, open records, which have been a focus during the pandemics. Y'all are still being able to meet by Zoom. That issue will all come back up as we come to the legislature. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of flavor of what we're trying to do and what we try to do with the utility. My hat's off to Mr. Brusiak and the staff. They work very well, letting us know what's needed. And we try as a group, Buddy, Joe, myself, and my team, to coordinate those efforts. And we feel as though we've been very successful. And we would ask for a favorable decision to let us keep helping you if you all decide that way. So I would also mention we filed a report before the last board meeting. I think it was on March 14th. Which goes into a lot more detail of a lot of these issues. But unless Buddy and Joe have something else to add, we'll stand for any questions and be happy to answer and respond.
Yeah, thank you, Kurt, too. I just wanted to agree that the market redesign at PUC of electricity, as Kurt alluded to, it's going to be a really, really big change that they're doing right now, ongoing. And just within the 72 munis, for example, even among the Public Power Association, there's some very different ideas about and size of these utilities. Candidly, Brownsville gets caught in the shadow of Austin and San Antonio sometimes, and whether they want to go that way or not. But there are targets on various municipalities depending on what they're advocating. As I mentioned, I think I agree. I echo what Kurt said. Mr. Brusiak and team have done a great job in presenting Brownsville Public Utilities Board as a model for the state. And as the drought continues into this summer, as the effects of any calamity disaster The supply chains have been worn out, inflation. These are an unmatched combination of situations that are about to continue to arise on your plate. And your ratepayers, they just see the rates, but what goes on behind the scenes, if there's ever a complete or a more complete method that you would like to have for us to discuss these topics and what we're following and how we influence the leadership, please count on us. But I too, I appreciate the opportunity to serve and look for favorable consideration from you all. Thank you.
Any questions of the board? I did, there's some more backup material that was in your packet for last month. Same information's in there. If there's any questions on that, or myself or our consultants, please ask. We are up for a renewal on their 2-year contract, and that's what we're here. We are recommending approval.
I'm sorry, your recommendation was what now?
Approval of the 2 contracts.
Your contract? Questions from the board member?
Any questions? I'd just like to say that in this time, in this environment, this is a need. I mean,
Right.
the service, and I don't think that we could do it on a retainer because this is ongoing every day. Just the work that they do, I've seen it. And I know that on a day-to-day basis, we in this room couldn't keep up with the work that they do behind the scenes. So I make a motion to accept the recommendation. Oh, that's why is it for two and three or for?
Well, we can do them individually, but we're recommending approval of both.
Both? I make recommendation that we do both.
Both, any?
Are there any questions? I know at the last meeting, there had been a couple of questions from some of the board members. I'd like to know if with the presentations and with the material that was presented, those questions have been answered, or if there's still some concerns out there that we should address. I understand the contracts can be canceled at any time, but
Right.
That said, I think before we have that vote, if there are still some concerns by the board members, it'd be good to hear from them.
Sure.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, that was going to be my comment. I just wanted to say that my question was about the duplicity and whether there was overlap. And those questions have, for now, been answered. So I'm good there, and I intend to vote in approval.
Any other questions? We're fine. So there's already a motion to approve both items to renew
I'll go
the.
ahead. This is Jude. I'll go ahead and second.
I didn't hear him.
You second the motion,
There was a
Jude.
second. There's
It
already.
was already second.
So Jude, there's a third now from.
Yeah.
All right.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentations.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
We're at your service.
So at this time, we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 4, which is a consideration and possible action on a Brownsville Public Utilities Board fiscal year 2022 and operations and maintenance budget amendment.
Right. Madam Chair, members of the board, last year, BPB had some cost overruns of $602,539 in legal fees. At that time, the board had directed us to pay this cost from the fiscal year 22 budget. We had originally budgeted $1,490,370. And for fiscal year 22, with a reduction of the 602,539, we ended up with a reduced amended budget of $887,831. We were further instructed to monitor the expenses and come back to the board with plenty of time for any additional amendments, and that's what we're here for today. We had staff review the legal expenses year to date and provided some projections for the entire fiscal year 22 of $1,525,746. So this would require a budget amendment of $637,915. So here on the next page, staff also provided a historical analysis of legal expenses by category. Year to date through February, BPB has incurred $641,629. It was determined that the average legal fees for the past 5 years is around $2.2 million. We see here fiscal year 2021 at $2,111,000. Fiscal year 20, 2.1 again, 2.1 in 2019, 2.2, 2018, and 2.4 million in 2017. We further identified special and unanticipated projects that significantly contribute to the increased legal expenses, and those are highlighted here in yellow. So for example, we got the BISD contract, the NASCA audit, the fraud investigation, litigation. Of course, we're not in the business of litigating. Oakley Union, Winter Storm Uri, and so forth. So this special, so for here, for fiscal year 22, we added those up. For 22, we have $136,461 in those special projects out of the total $641,000, representing about 21.3%. For fiscal year 21, that amount was $565,141 or 26.8%. And fiscal year 20, $566,341, 26.8%. We don't have the full detail yet for fiscal year 2019, 18, and 17. This is a tedious assignment for our staff, having to go through all those invoices and try to categorize all these expenses. But we'll continue to do that, and we'll provide some updated schedules at the next board meeting. So the current projections of $1,525,746 represents a reduction of $586,000 or 27.8% from fiscal year 2021. So this is a significant improvement. We do intend to continue our efforts in keeping this cost as low as possible. All requests for legal services will continue to be approved solely by the executive management. So in the case of special counsel, this request for legal services will be forwarded to Mr. Davison, who will then assign legal work requests to the most knowledgeable attorney. We'll ensure that there's no duplication of effort, and any new subject matters requiring legal research will be assigned to first-year associates who work at a lower hourly rate. And then Mr. Davison will also review all BPUB billings and write off what appears in his judgment to be excessive time for the matters worked upon. So we do have special counsel and local counsel available for any questions, if you all have any questions.
Questions from the board? Questions from the board?
I'll go ahead and make the recommendation. BPB staff recommends approval of an O&M budget amendment to increase the fiscal year 2022 legal budget in the amount of $637,915 to an amended legal budget amount not to exceed $1,525,746.
You get a motion to approve the item? I make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed will be the mayor. Does that, how many? 1, 2, 3. Motion carries. At this point, the motion carries.
Thank you.
This time, we're going to go with item number 5, which is a consideration and possible action for the approval of a refined scope of work for the Resacas in the vicinity of the city of Brownsville, Texas, ecosystem project managed by the United States Army Corps of Engineers. What's your name? Hello?
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is René Mariscal. I'm the Water Resource Manager for PUB. So with item number 5, let me go ahead and read the summary. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is collaborating with the Brownsville PUB on the Resacas in the vicinity of the city of Brownsville, Texas, ecosystem restoration project addressing the water and ecological degradation of Resacas. A feasibility study of the Brownsville Resacas was completed by the Corps in February 2018. The feasibility study recommends Resaca improvements estimated at $207,164,000, with the Corps paying 65% of that cost, while the non-federal sponsor pays 35% of the cost. The project is proposed as 16 phases with separate design and construction contracts for each of the phases. On November 19, 2020, the board approved PUB's share for the design of the first phase. The cost for the design of the first phase was estimated at $2,475,000, with PUB's share at $866,250. The first phase consists of improvements to 3 Resaca segments, 72, 93, and 94, that are within the Resaca de la Guerra system. The feasibility study estimated construction cost for improvements to segment 94, one of the 3 segments, totaled approximately $2,462,976. After further review, the Corps is recommending a reduced scope of work to that segment, segment 94, with a revised construction estimate of $851,281. Any questions?
That would reduce PUB's percentage as well, or
The cost for the construction, correct.
Yeah.
It would reduce it as well.
we would be responsible for what? Is it 30%?
35%.
35%.
It's a 65-35% share.
Okay.
Does that affect the other segments?
No, this is specifically to that one segment, segment 94. The other proposed segment 72 and 93, same work continues there.
So that Jagu, Resaca, it doesn't affect that the work will still continue on that one?
The work would still continue as proposed originally for Jagu segment 93.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a question. This is Jude.
Go ahead, Jude.
Renee, this is Jude. Hey, my only concern, I completely understand the reasoning behind the sizing down, but my only concern is why this wasn't, why the Corps wasn't aware of this earlier. Side slopes are an easy thing to calculate, and the clearance and area should have been done as part of the initial phases of the project. My concern is if that was only found out now as part of this restoration activity, I'm just concerned what else they might not know moving forward when we move to other segments. So that's pretty basic stuff. Can you elucidate a little bit on that or provide some background information as to why this was suddenly discovered?
Yeah, sure. So the feasibility study began in 2015. The original feasibility study, that was from 2015 through 2018. The Corps came down on several occasions, had several site visits, but clearly they weren't able to get to all the segments, each individual segment. One of the things that they did at that point was look at aerial. They looked at aerial views of the Resacas. And one of the things, this particular segment 94 was simply taken from, although they visited Jagu at the time, segment 94 was the one where they literally went down there and looked at. Now, as we're getting into the design of it, now we're starting to get into the, literally looking at the design for this one contract. Now there've been some more additional visits, and it's after these additional visits, now that we're in the middle of design, not the design is underway, that they've actually, looked at the area a little closer. And after evaluating that segment 94, we included some photos. You'll see that it's really steep, steep slopes. It's essentially a drainage ditch. Again, originally looking at aerial photography, you could see that there was an opportunity for restoring that segment 94. but upon further investigation, it's already something that now they're taking a closer look at it. And Dr. Benavides, I think the same will apply as we move forward to the next contract, whatever that contract may be down the road. At that point, we'll be zoning in on those particular segments, and it's possible that we'll find, maybe we need to tweak some of the proposed improvements that were in the feasibility back a few years ago. That helps.
Okay, yeah, a little bit, but the fact remains that, even one of my students could tell you what the side slope of that channel is using basic LiDAR and GIS in about 5 minutes. That's something we need to be able to make sure that the Corps, I'm not saying PUB has done anything wrong here, nor our staff. What I had asked John and you, and you have provided some of those, information as kind of the regular meetings. But I think we need to make sure that we allow the Corps or make the Corps take advantage of all the information that we have locally before we start down these steps so that we can make cost-effective decisions earlier on in the process. In this case, it was a cost savings in the sense that it was a scale down. I could easily see this going the other way because we didn't use information that is easily available through other channels and not established core methods that would cost us more. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to make sure that we work more carefully and we utilize all the quick information we have available. That channel side slope on a reconnaissance phase should have been picked up and identified very quickly as a drainage ditch. And if the intent was riparian stabilization, I can't see any scenario in which somebody was even basically familiar with that, making that decision way early on, saying this is just not a feasible step. And moving forward, our work as far as characterizing each particular pool or pond or section, whatever you want to call them, and their best, what they're probably best suited for, as far as restoration activities, we need to be in the driver's seat on that. So again, fortunately, there was no cost that I can see, that there are no financial costs to us as a result of this decision or change. But I want to avoid one where we have, instead of a reduced scope, an increased scope, additional work that we could have probably easily avoided early on. Does that make sense, Renee?
Yes, it does.
Okay, let's see if we can make that happen a little bit more carefully moving forward, please.
Will do.
Thank you.
Want to read the
Recommendation.
Any further questions, or want to read the recommended action?
Okay. PB staff recommends approval of the refined scope of work for the contract of the Resaca's in the vicinity of the city of Brownsville, Texas, ecosystem restoration project with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Can I get a motion to approve the item?
I'll make a motion to approve.
This is Jude. I'll second.
Sorry?
He seconded.
He seconded, so Anna first, Jude second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. This time, we're going to go with item number 6, which is the consideration and possible action to award bid for the Robindale wastewater treatment plant multi-stage blower replacement project.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Marie Leal, and I'm the Director of Special Projects and Water Wastewater Engineering, Planning and Operations. Does the board have any questions on the summary on this particular item? I'd be glad to answer.
Can you just talk about it a little bit so that we can?
Absolutely. The Robindale wastewater treatment plant has 6 turbo blowers that provide air to the secondary treatment. As part of the CIP project back in 2018, Hayes & Sawyer was selected as a consultant to design multi-stage centrifugal blowers to replace the turbo blowers that are obsolete, and they don't make them anymore, and we really are in dire need to replace them. last year, in 2021, the board approved the procurement separately of the multi-stage blowers. So this is only for the construction portion of the projects. On March of this year, we advertised the project and bids were received. And there was only, out of 21 vendors that were emailed, text, and called by our purchasing department, only one vendor responded, and that was Ferguson Service Systems with a bid of $2,838,000, which is right under our engineer's estimate, and this is a budgeted item. So the recommended action is BBB staff recommends approval of the bid award for the Robindale wastewater treatment plant blower replacement project to Ferguson Systems of Olmito, Texas, for an amount not to exceed $2,838,000.
Have you worked with this company before?
Actually, yes. Ferguson is a contractor that any day, every year, he's had projects with PUB. He's done other pump projects, and he does a large portion of our lift station rehab projects throughout the city. So all of the engineering staff and is very familiar with Mr. Ferguson.
Any questions from the board? No? Can I get a motion? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? A motion carries. Thank you. This time, we're going to move forward to the closed meeting. The items for discussion is going to be item number 1, which is a meeting with the board's legal counsel for advice about contemplated and pending court and administrative litigation and on matters in which the duty of the attorney under the Texas Disciplinary Rules Professional Conduct conflicts with Chapter 551, Section 551.071, including, among other matters, status of required financial disclosure statements, potential appeal of open records ruling requiring disclosures of sensitive Brownsville Public Utilities Board information held by the PUC to State District Court, and legal issues related to our cyber security incident. Item number 2 will be information and action regarding cybersecurity incidents, Section 551.076, 551.089, and the Texas Government Code, Section 418.177. And the third item is a discussion of real estate matters, Section 551.072. If I could get a motion to go into closed meeting? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Are you going to? Sure. Yeah. I'm fine. I didn't take it. I didn't take your water. That's correct. Ready. Number 7, which would be consideration and possible action on items discussed in closed meeting. Constructing. Can I get any questions from the board? Can I get a motion to approve? I'll make a motion. Second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. So we'll go to the last item, number 8, any discussion or request for future agenda items? No?
I would say just one thing for our finance team. I know next month we'll have March's numbers, so that puts us at the halfway mark for the fiscal year. And so perhaps we could review that maybe in finance committee just to see where we are in terms of our budgets, including our capital budget.
Yes, we're actually going to kick off our 6-month budget review.
Okay,
It actually starts tomorrow, so we'll be sending out instructions to staff.
great.
And so we'll add that as an item for the finance committee.
Yeah, I know we were behind a bit on our capital expenditures for a variety of reasons, and I want to make sure that we're,
Right, you had requested for us to report back on a quarterly basis. I don't know if it's May or June, the next quarter.
great.
Yeah, it's in the calendar.
That's it on my end.
All right. If there's no further discussions, could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What? Dinner? Yeah. Yeah.